I got a few things that I got to talk about. I want to start with MSU because obviously I'm a Spartan fan, Michigan State. So we'll talk about MSU very briefly here. So Michigan State, they surprised the world. They surprised me. They absolutely clobber Mississippi State. 69-51 was the final score. Walker had a great game. I mean, if I can actually pull up the box here, let's see right here. No, I was like, where's Michigan State? You got to scroll a little down. Jaden Akins had a great game, 15 points, 3 for 8 from 3-point. Walker shot 50% from 3, 19 points. Even had some contributors from the bench, and Trey Holloman, 2 for 3 from the field. Malik Hall had another great game, 50% from the field. And you're feeling good. You're like, okay, maybe we'll surprise the world. We went into the season ranked number 4 in the country. We never got back into the top 25 since getting out. But maybe this time, we'll just go on a surprise run, and then immediately after, Michigan State pooped its pants and got absolutely clobbered by North Carolina. And I will say, the final score does indicate just how not close this game was. But if you would have tuned into this game for like the first 4 minutes, you would have thought Michigan State actually was going to go on a Final Four run because they were up by upwards of double digits. I want to say they were up by 10 at one point. I don't remember exactly, but they were up by, I think it was, I heard some stat that it was like Michigan State was up 28 to, I don't think it was 10, but it might have been 10. It was like 28 to some number, and it was like first to 30 bets. And you're like, oh, easy. Michigan State is easily going to get to 31st. They did not get to 31st. They went completely, they just died. Like after they gave up that lead, when they had 28 points, they just died. They just completely fell apart. And I got to say, this is about as predictable as I could have imagined for Michigan State. And there's a lot of Spartan complacency, I will say. I'm very disappointed in a lot of my fellow Spartan fans because all I see is, well, next year we'll do it right. Tom Izzo is our guy, and you know what? It's tough luck, but I'm just glad we made the tournament, and it stinks, but wait till you see Xavier Booker. Just wait till you see Cohen Carr as soon as he develops an actual jump shot. We can trust Tom Izzo. I mean, like, surely he's developed players successfully in the relatively near past, right? Players like Marcus Bingham or Madi Sissoko or Gabe Malik Hall. Sometimes Jaden Akins still is he gonna come back? Hopefully he comes back. My whole point in saying this is not to say that we have to fire Tom Izzo. That's not happening. First of all, I wouldn't support that because I love Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo is the single greatest college basketball coach in Michigan State history. He's one of my personal favorite coaches in sports history. I love Tom Izzo. I want nothing more than for Tom Izzo to be successful and for him to win another national championship. But that is the standard for me. It is national championships. I've seen Final Fours. And frankly, I haven't seen a Final Four in a long enough time. I mean, haven't been to the Final Four since 2019. Tom, that's about half a decade ago at this point. And it's going to be over half a decade ago next year. That's how numbers work. So this is not like, we're not in this spot where I think people think like, oh, well, Tom has gotten us out of these holes before. It's like, we've had multiple seasons at this point where you think going into it, something good is going to come of it. And it just doesn't. Ever since Cassius Winston left, we haven't really had a true point guard. Like a true top of the line, all Big Ten, top player in NCAA. We haven't had that. Like we've had, we'd have Rocket Watts. I don't think he was a point guard. We've had, AJ Hogarth. I think AJ Hogarth was actually the next, like after Cash. I want to say that's actually accurate. So you had AJ Hogarth, who on one game you'd think he was, the next big thing, and another game you would wonder if he even played. And then you had Tyson Walker, who was a transfer, by the way. That's another problem that Izzo had this going into the season, is not looking at the transfer portal at all. And then you had, I guess you got Trey Holloman. I think he's a point guard. Like, who is this next big name? Is it Xavier Booker? He's a power forward. I mean, like, you need somebody to play the point, right? I mean, if you want to run the kind of offense, like he's always had, that sort of thing going. At least most recently, that has been where he's had the most success. And I don't know where this like kind of confidence that he's just going to figure it out comes from. I really don't know. And it's again, I love Tom Izzo. I want this team to succeed for his sake and for his legacy's sake, because I don't want him to be Mark D'Antonio. I don't want him to turn into, oh yeah, that MSU coach, that was real good, did a lot for Michigan State. And then those later years, he really set that program back. Like, are we gonna have like a Mel Tucker equivalent post Tom Izzo? Are we gonna have some basketball coach who, like, his first year he gets some crazy transfer and he's like the best player ever, he's the first overall pick or something, and then the next year we find out that he was having sex with someone he loves in the showers or something. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like what did I shouldn't even make that joke. This is terrible. Anyway, my whole point of monologuing about all this is Tom Izzo made a statement after the game that he was going to make a deep run or die trying. And I really hope by make a deep run he means win a national championship. Because frankly, again, I've seen the Final Four. I've seen it multiple times. I'd like to see a national championship again, please. That would be nice. The last national championship for a Big Ten team was that Big Ten team. Mateen Cleaves is not exactly a spring chicken anymore. But what I will say is, Tom, if your statement is I'm going to make a deep run or die trying, at this stage, I really hate to say this, you're probably going to die trying. Unless you really change, unless you hit the portal, unless you get rid of some of these, assistants, unless you really overhaul this roster going into next season. Good recruiting is great, and he still can recruit clearly. He can still get those high starred recruits to come in, and those guys can contribute if you allow them to develop, or if they just are contributors right out of the gate. That's the best case scenario. But we haven't even had that in a very long time. Like, the closest we've had is Xavier Booker. And Xavier Booker, I mean, he'd have games where, he'd play like 5 minutes and he'd make a three, and that was it. Tom Izzo said, you know what? You're done. Now watch as we blow like a 13-point lead or something. So, yeah. Michigan State's end is incredibly predictable, and yet it just seems that a lot of Spartan fans are just not – there's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of, hey, Tom, you got to figure it out. Like, if you don't figure it out, I don't want to force you to retire, but if you aren't going to change what you're doing, second-round exits, first-round exits, even Sweet 16 runs are not acceptable for Michigan State. They're just not. So, yeah. So, fun stuff from our wonderful Spartans. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.